A painful day this boy will never forget. My dog went behind her and bit me on the leg. I pulled my dog back and Samuel just walked off. You either lied in your deposition or you lied when you told me your story. And a neighbor headed for the doghouse. All of a sudden, his son came up behind us and scared Nayla. It's the same story. Just one story is more elaborate than the other. No, Madame, Judge Judy, you are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy. Alberto Nunez is suing Lourdes Rodriguez and her husband, Joe Rivera, for damages after the couple's dog bit his 10-year-old son. Order, all res. This is case number 21 on the count, in the matter of Nunez versus Rodriguez Rivera. Thank you. You're welcome. Judge, the parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat. Mr. Nunez, your son was bitten by their dog, correct? You were not present when that happened. Was not, so only he can tell me what happened. Yes. Would you like to come up here? Tell me your first name. Samuel. Do you remember when this happened? I think it was in December. In December? Yes. Great. Tell me where you were going on that date in December. I was walking home. From where? School. You were walking by yourself? Yes. And tell me what happened with the dog. I was walking home from school and I crossed the street and a lady was coming up towards me with a dog and baby stroller. So she had a baby stroller. That was this lady here. Yes. And while I was getting closer, the dog was jumping around and making growling noises. And she was saying, "Don't do it to the dog." And she said, "Don't do it." Yes. Was she holding on to the leash? Yes. Well, she had the leash on her hand while she was holding on to it. I'm sorry. Your Honor. That is false. Just a second. Don't interrupt. Go ahead. And while I passed her, the dog went around and behind her and bit me on the leg. Okay. And what did you do? Did you go home? Yes. Did the lady say anything to you? No. Did you say anything to the lady? No. Did you say your dog bit me? No. How did you find her if you hadn't said anything to her? It was my dad. Your dad found her? Yes. Okay. Did you go to the doctor? Yes. And you had to get a shot? Yes. Ma'am, tell me where they gave you the shot. On both arms and both legs. And did you have to go back for shots more than once or just once? I would have, but they found the dog. So you got 4 shots that day? Yes. Do you remember what the dog looked like? Yes. It was white and fluffy. It was like medium-sized. Had you ever seen this lady or the dog before? No. Okay. You can go back there so you can stand next to your dad in case I have any other questions for you. Mr. Nunez, yes. How did you find Mrs. Rodriguez? The next day after, there was another incident. And then that individual we had spoken to that was in search of that dog also realized that it was the exact same dog that had bitten him. We received a phone call that following day on December 9th, and she informed us of it. Who called you? The individual from the Pflugerville Police Department made the phone call to me that next day. They said that day that they had believed. They did find that dog due to the fact of another individual being bitten. By that dog? By the same dog? Yes. On what date? Was the other individual? That was on December 9th, in which that second incident occurred. And the incident involving your son was on the 8th, the day before. And then we've got documents of both of those incidents. I'd like to see both. Your Honor, that was hearsay. That was actually, my mom was walking the dog. And the dog, there was a pit bull unleashed. Listen to me. Don't interrupt. Yes, ma'am. This is both? Yes. The first is ourselves. And the second is, if I ask you a question, but don't tell me what happened with your mom and what's hearsay. Sure. I actually know what hearsay is. You got it. We're speaking of the dog that's bitten 2 different individuals, not who was walking it the second day. Your Honor, may I point out that on that record of my mother-in-law with the second incident, it shows that the other dog was not on a leash and was coming towards my mother-in-law and our dog, and we actually called 911 that day. My mother did. Just a second. Were either one of you there? No. Ma'am. Now I'll hear you. Go ahead. Tell me the story. Okay. May I approach the board? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So it was December 8th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The school was being... Sorry. Did she say Sunday? Just listen to me. Don't interrupt her. Okay. It was December 8th. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was going down Bishopsgate. I saw that Samuel was coming. So my sister's very afraid of dogs. So I know to be respectful of others who are walking near us. And so I stopped to the left side with my dog on my left and on my right hand with the stroller. I directed Samuel to go around us and... Just a second. Why would you do that? No, I didn't. No. Listen to me. I just stood there. And you have... No, You're talking to somebody who's had dogs for 50 years and who walks dog on a leash when I'm outside. Why would you direct or suggest that Sammy go around the dog? I directed him by standing there. I didn't tell him verbally. I just stood there to the side of him so he knew that he could pass us. Don't tell me what he knew. He passed you. Yes, he did. And we kept walking. And then my dog started barking as we had already walked off. And I turned around, and my dog was just barking, and the kid didn't react. Just a second. Just a second. Be very careful. You know, when you start to say things that you've been practicing in your mind to say, but as you actually articulate them, they sound stupid. Okay. They sound stupid. Then you're sort of getting away from yourself. And that's what's happening to you right now. Because now you were turning around because the dog started to bark. And as you were turning around, you were going to tell me what happened. As you were turning around, as I turned around, I pulled my dog back, and Samuel just walked off. He didn't react. He didn't tell me anything. So I didn't assume anything. And I carried on with my walk. And that's what happened. Well, it's kind of, I don't want to hear you. Sir, you weren't there. Okay, I don't want to hear anything that you have to say. May I share the photos? No, you may not say anything until I ask you a question. And, Your Honor, I have pictures. I didn't ask you a question. Okay, let me tell you. Monsieur Rodriguez, why when you start to tell a lie? I always have a saying. And that saying is if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. I'm going to read what you swore to in your answer. Okay. On the day of the incident, I was walking Nala and pushing Alana in her stroller. As plaintiff's son approached, I pulled Nala's leash and kept her on my left side. Yes, I directed him to pass on my right side. Once he passed, I started walking again. All of a sudden, his son came up from behind us and scared Nayla. When he startled us, Nala reacted to protect us. Now, what part of that didn't you put in? You want to look at it. You signed it. You swore to it. No, I have a copy. Your Honor, wait just a second. What part of that didn't you tell me? I just gave you the simple story. No, that was very specific. I was swinging to the right. I was swinging to the left. I turned around. He walked away. What part of all that my dog was protecting us? Because he came up from behind. Didn't you? You see, when you have a truthful story, you don't have to have a good memory. You don't want to read this again, and you don't want me to read it again. Right? Your Honor. Yes. Were you cited once or twice for your dog biting somebody within a week's period? Once, and that was this child. Yeah, the one. That was this child. Yes, ma'am. And what happened with the other incident? Nothing came to be of it. The dog was not on the lease. So it was really nothing to be of. Can I see the bite? Please. You have photographs and the medical bills. Yes. Added with, those are the requests in regards to the payment made by the insurance company. The request for those dollar amounts being returned to them. Actually, the amount that, with the wrong name, 10, correct? Your insurance covered most of that. The out-of-pocket for the medical, yes, was just a hair over the $1. $3.46. That includes all the medical and my missing of the time from work. No. Medical alone? I just want what you were out of pocket on your medical bill. That doesn't mean that I'm discounting. Your Honor, I have the email where he sent us the out-of-pocket expenses that I'd like to see it. Here's a copy of his 2 medical records. Just a second. His out-of-pocket was about $300. Now, this is my problem with you, Mr. Rodriguez. First of all, because you either lied in your deposition or you lied when you told me your story. I'm not so offended by that, although I should be. For the court, be offended by that. What I'm offended by for this young man is I believe you sensed in your dog that your dog was uncomfortable as Sammy was approaching. Either you knew that because your dog had been aggressive before. No. Or you knew that because your dog at that moment was agitated. Now, how long have you had the dog? 5 years. Well, then maybe it's because when you have a dog for 5 years, and I assume that this is your first baby. Yes, and the dog has been your baby for 5 years. And you have a brand new baby that the dog is not happy. Been there, done that. And the dog's personality changes. The dog's personality changes because the dog is jealous of the new baby in the house. And I can guarantee you that you've seen signs of that change of behavior since your new baby came home. Whatever it is. When Sammy passed, Sammy did not come back in an aggressive way. Sammy did not double back to a barking dog. That's not the kind of child this is. And if you sense that your dog was agitated, you cross the street. You don't direct the child to walk around you. You get your baby buggy and your dog, and you move them out of harm's way. I understand. Well, I'm glad you understand. I'm glad you understand. Do you still have the dog? Yes, I do. Well, You just be careful of that baby. I'm just telling you. Oh, I have pictures here of my dog and the baby. And she absolutely loves. Do you know how many pictures? Your dog bit the child for no reason. I disagree. There was a reason. So far, your wife hasn't given me a reason. She's given 2 different stories, but not one reason. It's the same story. Just one story is more elaborate than the other. No, madam, there are 2 different stories. 2 entirely different stories. And fortunately, this is on tape. So the 10 million people who are going to watch this case will see that you told 2 distinct stories. But neither one of them suggests that this child did anything wrong. True stories are on the documents. I didn't ask you anything. Do I look like I need your help? No. Ma'am, Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, I would have said, I'm taking $500 off the exterminator's bill. That way the axe would have fallen on the throat where it properly belonged. I'm not that shrewd, but you're not that shrewd. If you were that shrewd, you'd have a TV program. Real cases. Real people. Judge Judy. Alberto Nunez says Lourdes Rodriguez and her husband, Joe Rivera, owe for damages after their dog bit his son. So, I'm just telling you that one day, out of the blue, your daughter is going to be crawling on the ground and Nola, whatever the dog's name is going to say, you know what? It was much better around here before I had competition. And then you're going to say, well, she never did that before. But the truth is, you've been forewarned. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2. Feemsner, we're done. Why does that excuse me? Steph, well, we're happy that anyone and everyone who was here today got to hear the truth. I think it was pretty clear that the plaintiff was actually after cash in his pocket. That's insulting. I think it just comes down to how much money you want in your pocket. I mean, individuals who step away from their responsibilities. Do you want to make it for profit, or do you want to make, it just depends what you want to make of it. But that's just an insult. Nothing against the boy. He's a good boy. Just do the right thing. And now, the next case. All parties in the matter of Fusek Vepritig. Milner step forward. Barbara Fusek is suing her neighbor, Robert Milner, for an insurance deductible as a result of a fence falling on her car. How long? Miss Fusek, have you and the defendant been neighbors? Probably 6 or 7 years. Is that right? Sir, no. Like 13 years? That you've been neighbors? Yes. So, Mr. Milner, I'm going to start with you. Okay, you had to have your house fumigated. Yes. And when you had your house fumigated, the company that you hired tented your house. Yes. But the company that you hired did something that was somehow negligent. And as a result of that, 2 things happened. A fence was damaged that separated your property. And when this tent flapped on the fence hit her car and her car was damaged. Missy, Fusek had insurance and her car insurance paid to fix your car with the exception of a $500 deductible. That's correct, Your Honor. And that's what she is suing for. That's correct, Your Honor. That's what the case is about. The ball is in your court. You explain to me why you think that you're not responsible to pay her $500 deductible? Well, to start off is that they unscrewed a lot of stuff from the fence to make it fall over. They told me this themselves. They put the fence back up. I believe they told me they gave her a business card. And instead of calling me and telling me they couldn't do that, they went ahead and unscrewed these pieces. You hired this company? Yes, I did. And the company that you hired? Yes. Was on your property? Yes. Doing work for you when the damage occurred to her car? Yes. I wasn't there at the time. But, well, that doesn't make any difference. Whether you were there at the time or not. Judge Judy continues in a moment. I didn't know she sent me a letter saying she wanted me to pay her. Now you know, you knew you weren't coming here because I was preparing a brisket. No, you knew you were coming here because she was suing you. No, she sent me a letter with the wrong name. What? Barbara Fusek says neighbor Robert Milner owes for an insurance deductible after a fence fell on her car. The fact that could you have gone through your homeowner's insurance to pay for the damage to her car? Perhaps, did she discuss that with you? Whether or not you would like to go through your homeowner's insurance to pay for the damage. Did she discuss that with you? It's been a year since this has happened. Most likely, yes. She did discuss this, and also, the termite company has insurance to do this as well. I figured that between my insurance and the fumigating company would take care of this. And 7 months went by and she contacted me again and said they were not paying her. So I called my insurance and told them, asked them what was going on, and their get back to me kind of deal. And then I called the fumigation company, their get back to me kind of deal. And then it still didn't get worked out. I assumed that my insurance or the fumigation company's insurance would pay for this. But the problem is, if you look at it this way, Mr. Milner, she had no input into the selection of a company that you contracted with to do work on your property. What you're suggesting to me is that they did their job in a very negligent fashion. That's what you're suggesting to me. Well, but she had no input in the selection of these people. That was your job. So that she has 2 options. Actually, 3. She can say to you, you use your homeowner's insurance and I expect to be made 100% whole. And if what you say to me, Mr. Milner, is that she did suggest that to you, but you chose not to do that, because I don't hear that as soon as it happened. You said, I'll go through my homeowners, and call them, and they'll come and take a look at your car because, after all, this is my responsibility. Well, Your Honor, I never got to see the damage of the car. Do you have photographs of the car? Maybe we'll show it to you now. Mr. Milner, her insurance company didn't get to see damage of the car. She turned it in before she turned in the insurance. Listen to me. I know an insurance company. I know the fence that caused it, and it was due to me getting it exterminated. But, I tried to get this fence fixed before I tented. I asked Barbara for her landlord's phone number, and she said she didn't know her landlord's phone number, and she's lived there for over 13 years. And I asked again. Wait a minute. I asked again, and then she gave me her email number. I wanted to get this fence fixed. It's not my fence. It's not on my property, and I can show you pictures. I know it was caused by the extermination company. That is correct. It was caused by a company that you selected that you now say was negligent in what they did. So, her property was damaged. Yes, not as a result of anything that she did. Okay, if there is any culpability, it would be the tenting company, the exterminator, and yours. Yes, you chose by not going through your homeowner's insurance to put her in a position of having to sue a strange company. Or, if you knew that there was damage to the car and your home was tented, I would have said, listen, go through your car insurance. You have a deductible $500. I'm taking $500 off the exterminator's bill. You could have done that. That way she would have been whole, and the axe would have fallen on the throat where it properly belonged. But you would have had to do it. Yes, I'm not that shrewd. But you're not that shrewd. Well, if you were that shrewd, you'd have a TV program. She did have a conversation with me about, she came over to my house and she said, it's no longer the insurance company. She quit. It's just me and you. And I said, I still have an insurance company and let me get a hold of them. And then, in the meantime, I got turned around and I got filed. She filed a complaint. But before that, I didn't know. She sent me a letter asking me that, but I didn't know she sent me a letter saying she wanted me to pay her. Well, now we know. Now you know. You knew you weren't coming here because I was preparing a brisket. No, you knew you were coming here because she was suing you. No, but see, she sent me a letter with the wrong name. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. I'm finished with this case. She never asked me for the $500. Thank you. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, he said that he would be losing his home. I happen to keep cash in my safe. You believe that you owe her some money. A little confused. A little nervous. I'll let you sit down so you get unconfused and get unnervous. Judge Judy, I heard the fence behind me fall. She taped a note to my fence. I ran out. It said, call me. Barbara, and I actually helped heave it. Tried to heave it up. Make sure your insurance company pays. I said, I've got a problem here. I need to pay for this. The deductible. He called somebody on the phone and said, we're not liable.